And once again, it's time for Talking Technical. Thank you for all the viewers that's watching the program. The other day, I popped into a little place to eat something, and somebody walked onto me and he just thanked me for what we do and that we help traders and investors get used to this wonderful hobby of technical analysis. So, yes, it makes us feel humble if somebody actually talk about it, but thank you for all the requests, and it's just such an honor. And I must also thank BDTV for hosting the show for so many years, and I'm sure a lot of you can almost say young upcoming technical analysts and the people that use technical analysis in their investment methods, they've learned over the years a lot of things on this program. Thank you for all. So let's kick off with Africa. Africa asked about Conduit, and I think he's maybe interesting in buying the company. But if I look at the company, I want to say to him that there's something of interest to me. In Africa, if I look at this chart, let's just have a look here. This company, Conduit Capital, was in 2016, was a wonderful chart that moved around 325. That was the high that I can see here. That was in 2015. Well, let's have a look here. Yeah, 19 October 2015. And since then, you can just see, and remember, this is a weekly chart, line chart, and what happened there? High, lower high. The trend is still clearly to the downside. If you look at this, let's just have a look here. You can see that the momentum is clearly to the downside. There's almost nothing stopping the share. If you look at the resistance line, the support line that we're looking at the moment, it's going all the way down. Even the lowest level is around 17 cents. And it just looks like that the share is going down. So Africa really, if you want to buy the stock, I will rather wait for this. And I'm showing you now that I would rather start looking at this company at this point. And there's the low. That is at 40 cents. It's trading at 17 cents. It's almost like you betting on something here, unless you know something that what we don't know. But what this chart is telling me, that there's not a lot of informed capital that's excited about the stock. In actual fact, I think there's a lot of people that's nervous about the company. So for me, if it was my choice, I would say wait for at least maybe a consolidation, a higher low, or something that we can say to ourselves is something on the boil. But at the moment, it looks bad to me. In actual fact, if I buy it above 40 cents, I will use a stop loss of 30 just to protect my capital. But at the moment, all the way to the downside, and it can maybe surprise you and go even lower. So just be a little bit careful. I don't think you need to rush into this company. Let's have a look at Ravelo's question, and he's looking at Woolies. And he wanted to know, what can he do? Can he buy the stock? Now, if I look at this long-term chart, and remember, this is a weekly chart again. Well, what I see here, Rivelo, is that what happens here, there's the low. It was around 25.69. All the way, some beautiful action. And my crucial clue is actually this on the technical charts. And that is this, let's call it a double bottom. There you can see, I just want to show you. There's the two low points. And the stock came back to test this 30.23, went up, came back to test it again. That is positive for me. But on the other hand, I will say to myself, if that's the case and it makes higher lows all the way to what we see now, I will use this. I don't know if you've got the stock already or if you want to get into the stock. I will wait for this line to be tested. Maybe you're just lucky that it can come back to this 35.45. It's just one thing to keep in mind. Remember, this share fell off a cliff and it got to 25 Rand. It's now at 36 Rand. It is a beautiful, healthy rally. Something of interest happened, you can almost say a few days back. Mr. Trump came out and he tweeted about stimulus talks that he wants to halt them. And suddenly the whole Dow Jones and the S&P and the Nasdaq turned around and it fell on a heap on one evening. It was almost a 2.5% turnaround. What I want to warn all investors now, remember, we're still with the COVID. There's still a lot of uncertainty around. And if that takes place, that the markets cannot go up on stimulus again, it can easily pull back, and that's why I want to give a different level. Instead of that one, I will use this trend line. Now, this trend line tells you that everything is still 100% okay. But I believe if news must come out, and it's going to come out in some time, that the markets do not react anymore on stimulus, then you can easily see Woolworths coming back to 31.61, and that will rather be the place for me to buy and chase this momentum around this line of this support line that I just drew in. So I will look at that level, and then I will use the stop loss of 29.84, and if I'm a long-term investor, maybe 28.27. Reason being, remember we had a beautiful recovery. Even from 25 to 36, it's a wonderful recovery. And I just hear of a lot of people that believe that things of the COVID is not yet past and done and dusted. So maybe it can turn around and it can maybe surprise us. Let's look at Fushini. Solly asked about Fushini. And there you are. Let's have a look at Fushini. Remember, they're busy taking now over all those Edgar stores that gave a lot of investors hassles, and especially property investors, because they are renting spaces, massive properties. And what we're seeing now is, I think that news of the rights issue is now out of the way. The issue of buying the old stores of Edgar's and taking them over is also on the way. And this stock, same thing like Woolworths. This chart looks a little bit better because at the moment I'm happy with the chart, and the simple reason being is that the news is out. And with Woolies, we don't know if all the news are out because their results is not 100%. With Fushini, we know in actual fact that they did give a rights issue. Investors had the opportunity to do it. And the fundamental issue is now, can they turn Edgar's around? And for me, it's quite simple. If you do have the stock, you hold on to it. I'm going to give it a level. At that level, while the support line holds, and there's the support line, while it holds above 73.10, I'm quite happy to hold on to Fushini. But if you want to accumulate, or you'd missed out on a chance and you want to chase momentum, then you need to buy above 93.40 and maybe make use of this stop loss of 73.10. And the reason being, it's a weekly chart, it's more of a long-term play, and keep in mind that although our economy is very depressed, there is still a lot of money floating around, and maybe Fushini can maybe benefit out of this. So Woolies can also, Woolies I'm a little bit more unsure and uncertain, but with Fushini I think all the news is out, maybe it looks a little bit better. Let's have a look at Sappi. Nelson wanted to know about Sappi. Let's have a look at Sappi. Well, if I look at Sappi, there you are. Well, there you are, Nelson. If you look at Sappi here, this stock was, can you believe it? This stock was in its heyday, also 101, 102 Rand stock. And what do we see here? There was a top. There was another top. There was another top. It's a triple top. Where did it get confirmed? Below this level. There you are. And since then, it just lost a lot of momentum. Strange enough, if you up that line a little bit, you will see there was also an ugly head and shoulder formation. There's the left shoulder. There's the head. There's the right shoulder. It played out to the T. Let's have a look. There you are. And I will take it down. And it fell off the hip, almost like Sassel. We never thought that it can go that low, below 100 Rand. Well, it went almost the way to 20 Rand. But let's have a look at Sappi now. It looks like we got a low here of 19 Rand 30. But there's something else. Nelson, let's have a look here. There's the line that I'm watching. We do find that a lot in technical charts, and that is stock starts to break the resistance line or the trend line. This line tells you that the momentum was down. Then it breaks it, and then it starts to consolidate above this line. Now what you do then is, if you do find a place, you take another line and you just combine those two, and then you know, although it is consolidating above this trend line, that's a first sign of positivity. That means that the stock is trying to find its feet, and that investors must decide if they're happy to buy between 31 Rand and 18 Rand. That was the low. The moment this little tiny resistance line turn into a support, you can maybe stand closer, and that will be above 27 Rand 80 cents. And where do we know that the momentum wants to turn around the upside? It is if the stock can take out this little high, this recent high of 31.70. Then you know the momentum won't turn to the upside. And if you buy there, make use of a stop loss of 22 Rand and 70 cents. Well, if you look at this chart tells us if it can turn around, and I like this base. You see, it's almost like we call a U-shape. You can mean like a U-shape recovery here, because that's the high. It's tiny, showing sort of a U-shape here, or a saucer pattern. Some guys will call it a saucer pattern, but for me, I will say if it breaks this little resistance line above 32, let's call it 32, then something is on the boil here, and SAPI can maybe go a little bit higher. And remember, SAPI is also one of those stocks that if it starts to tick higher, you can say that the world economy is picking up and there's a demand for their products. Remember, they do a lot of products, not just paper, they're also doing a lot of pulp and all that. So that can be an early sign that the world's economy is sort of recovering. So I like this chart, but it's an early day chart. Momentum still down. It's trying to find its feet. We've got a low there. We've got a higher low there. Above this line, we'll have a higher high. That will be positive. So I think if you've got a medium to a long-term view, it's maybe time to start to look at SAPI and just watch it. And if it breaks, then it can easily go higher. Well, visit our website, www.fransdeklerk.com, for more info on technical charts. And as always, we'll chat again.